Welcome to Sports Wrap Live. Tonight we're getting ready for our brand new fall season. We got a lot of action coming up for you. We got some soccer, Plattsburgh and Beekmantown, some football, Saranac Lakes keeps on surging against Ausable Valley, some more football, Peru and Beekmantown again, and we're going to get a nice interview with Derek Polacki, so keep it right here. This is Sports Wrap Live. And welcome to Sports Wrap Live. I'm Lee Dudek alongside Mike Warren. We're excited to bring you another great season of fall sports up here in the CVAC. How you doing, Mike?
Not too bad, Lee. A lot of great football and soccer action over the past few days, especially on the football field. A little bit of rainy weather this past Saturday in a few games. Luckily, Saranac Lake and Ausable Valley got to play under some dry weather Friday night, though.
Yeah, that was fortunate, but like you said, a lot of rainy weather, but that's what we get this time of year. Great football action, though. So you mentioned Saranac Lake, Ausable. We have Peru and Beekmantown, and we have PHS, Plattsburgh, coming at you, too. Lots of football, lots of soccer. I'm excited to bring it to you. How about you?
Absolutely. You know, this time of year up here in the North Country, it's a lot of great high school action. The kids are about mid-season at this point, driving hard to get to that playoff push, and it's just fun to watch them out there and see what the results come out to be.
Absolutely. This is the time of year that guys really start to separate themselves, you know, the competitors versus the guys who might not be up to that level just yet. Like I mentioned earlier, Saranac Lake and Ausable Valley, that game's going to be coming up in just a second. Great matchup right there, though. Two teams on kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, though.
Absolutely. Saranac Lake, you could say, has been the class of the Champlain Valley Athletic Conference so far this year. Ausable Valley in what would say a rebuilding year. But as we take a look at the highlights, we'll see what happened here on this beautiful Friday night that just passed.
Absolutely. So are you ready to bring it to them?
Absolutely. Let's get into the highlights now with Saranac Lake and Ausable Valley. Game was at Ausable Valley on Friday night. As you see, the team's getting ready before their kickoff for week 4 of the 2012 season. Starting off, Cody Simpson with a pass to Sultan Sikander for about a 10-yard gain. That was really a little bit of what you saw from Ausable Valley, as here comes the Saranac Lake juggernaut. And as you can see, quarterback Matt Fellonen with a deep pass wide open to Michael Burpo about 40 yards downfield. He tries to break 2 defenders on this one. Loses the ball, but Saranac Lake does come up with it right on that. After that play, 2 offside penalties helped lead to a score to give Saranac Lake a 7-0 lead. Once again, you see Fellonen with the ball right over the middle to Kevin Morgan for about a 15-yard gain here on this one. As he goes down, as Saranac Lake's juggernaut keeps going. Fellonen once again, this time going to take off. And look at the block on this one by Kyle McGrain, number 52, blocks 2 Ausable defenders, and that allows Fellonen to just take off running from over midfield to score the touchdown to give Saranac Lake a 14-0 lead here at this point in the game. A little bit of the Saranac Lake defense coming together as a fumble on Ausable Valley's end leads to Saranac Lake picking up the ball. Next ensuing play, here comes Fellonen again to a wide open Michael Burpo for the second time. Look at the space that Saranac Lake's Michael Burpo had as he gets brought down just before the goal line on that one. And at the end of the first quarter, the Red Storm had a 14-0 lead over the Patriots. Once again, Fellonen with the ball, running it in for another score, making it 21-0 for Saranac Lake. A lot of Saranac Lake offense here in this game. Let's look at the Saranac Lake defense, however, at this time. Simpson goes back to pass. That is picked off by Craig Leahy, who runs it back down to the 30-yard line. Next play, it's handed off to Seth Pickering, who runs it in for the score once again. Now 28-0 in favor of Saranac Lake at this point. Saranac Lake, like we said, the offense just great here on this one. Simpson back to pass for AuSable Valley, gets caught into being run through, and Burpo making a big defensive play on this one as well. Getting the tackle on this one on a second, and this play, AuSable Valley fumbles the ball. Saranac Lake gonna recover once again. A great game on both ends of the field for Saranac Lake in this one as they kept it going. As you can see, Fellonin back to pass, hits Michael Burpo in the end zone once again with a falling catch, another touchdown. Here's Fellonin once again hitting Morgan. And look at this play. 3 defenders right in front of Morgan. You think AuSable Valley's going to bring them down. Watch the move by Morgan right here. He jukes 1, he jukes 2, he jukes 3, and even a 4th one, and makes his run all the way down the field into the end zone. And at halftime, a 42-0 lead for the Saranac Lake Red Storm here in this one. Start of the second half, as you see the AuSable Valley kickoff here on this one. Seth Pickering going to go down the left side of the field and just run away with this one down the sideline as they return the opening kickoff of the second half, leading to a 49-0 lead here for Saranac Lake in this one. AuSable Valley got some offense in, however, as Cody Simpson throwing it over to Jonathan Luxton for a 15-yard completion on this one. Then Simpson hands it off to number 44 with the stiff arm, Dylan Savage, who makes the score 49-6. And then on this one, Michael Thompson runs it into the end zone for AuSable Valley. Final score in this one would be 56-20. Saranac Lake picking up the win to improve to 4-0, dropping AuSable Valley to 0-4 in the process. Lee, I got to tell you, Saranac Lake, like we said as the show started, team to beat here in the 2012 season, just offensive and defensively.
You're absolutely right, and I think you mentioned juggernaut, and it's almost not even fair to call them a juggernaut. I feel like you have to make up a whole new word to describe how good this team is. You saw it there, offensively, defensively, they're just getting after the quarterback with that defensive line, and a couple of key players had really, really big games for Saranac Lake.
Let's start with the quarterback, Matt Fellonin. What a game by him, doing it not only in the air, but also on the ground rushing. He went 5 for 5 on passing in that game, surprisingly. 146 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and you saw the one he ran in for himself. What a game by Fellonin.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned his arm, but it was his legs, really. That was the surprise to me, anyway. You saw the wheels he had. Obviously, the great blocking by the offensive line, but the wheels he got, when he got out in the open, he was gone. Nobody was going to touch him. Just incredible when you have a dual-threat quarterback like that to really step up, keep the defense on their toes, and step up your game offensively.
The other thing you had to like was the offensive play from Michael Burpo in the game. 3 receptions, 2 of them for touchdowns, but he seemed to know how to get wide open on AuSable Valley's defense.
Yeah, it looked like there might have been a blown coverage on that one play because he was really that wide open. But you mentioned his offensive stats, but I looked at his defensive play as well. He was on both sides, going both ways all day long, coming up with sacks, coming up with big plays on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. And when you have guys that are going to compete that hard both ways, it's going to be really tough to stop your team.
Now, a couple of stats for Saranac Lake that we had. Now, 376 all-purpose yards for the Red Storm in this game, and a 28-point second quarter, which was the big quarter for the Red Storm in this one. What a great game put together by Saranac Lake. As like we said, they improved to 4-0. This week they travel to Plattsburgh, who's 1-3. Got to imagine Saranac Lake's going to pick up another win this weekend here in Week 5.
Yeah, it looks that way. And you mentioned those all-purpose yards. They got the big kickoff return. Yeah. Just incredible the way they were playing today, or excuse me, last Friday. But right now we're going to get into Beekmantown and Peru. They were playing over the weekend in a rainy matchup out there in Peru. Let's get into that one right about now. You see the teams getting ready. Kind of a rainy day, so not as plentiful of the highlights as we had on that previous one for you, but we do the best we can here. And to start it out, Peru in the shotgun and a nice little reverse play. And this guy, he looks like he's trying to get a little fancy. You see the guys in the pros and upper level college jumping over people, but he's just going to get dropped right there. Not too much ups from him on that one. Peru again coming out, running right tackle. That's Mackenzie LaRoque, and he's just going to get stopped right at the line. Good defense by Beekmantown right there. The Eagles stuffing him. Again, LaRoque going to the left side this time, and what a tough run, dragging defenders. That's about as tough as a 5-6 yard run as you're going to find. And this time, LaRoque going back to the left side, but Beekmantown is there waiting for him. Look at the Eagles' defense, rush right through the offensive line. They get a nice tackle in the backfield. Now right here, Beekmantown on offense. We're going to freeze frame. He's got his man on a slant pass, wide open. That's just too easy. You gotta man up right there. And again, Beekmantown right back to him on the nice little out route right there. A beautiful touch pass, and he's just going to sneak in right there for the touchdown. That's going to be Beekmantown's only score of the game, however, as Peru would actually go on to win this one. We have a little bit of a graphic error right there. It's going to be Peru 21, Beekmantown 6. As Peru goes on to pick up the victory, they improve to 3-1 on the season.
Both teams 3-1 coming out of this game, but you got to wonder. First of all, you got to like the play from Blake Althusser in the rainy conditions. 4 for 11, 38 yards. You know, he had, as we talked about in previous games, he had a lot of big stats in Peru's big wins. Peru's 3-1. Their only loss is to Saranac Lake.
Yeah, they look good, and Beekmantown looking a little iffy in the rain. Both teams, their passing game obviously was not on point. You saw Zach Myers for Beekmantown with a couple of nice passes there at the end, but obviously your passing game is going to be a little off when you have those rainy conditions.
One of the other things we have to mention, Zane Bazzano, 2 interceptions, including a pick 6 in the third quarter, seemed to be the play that Peru needed to bring home the game late in that one. A big home win for Peru, and this weekend they go to Saranac, who's 2-2. This could be a trap game for him, however.
It could be, and I actually picked Saranac to win that game. I think Peru is going to be coming off a little bit of a high. They might not be on their game completely the way they were against Beekmantown. Might be a little full of himself, might not totally go in 100% focus to that game.
But like we said, Blake Althusser so far in the 2012 season. We saw the highlights from a couple weeks ago. He looked really good. He looked good again with the conditions. This guy may be one of the best quarterbacks in the CVAC here in the 2012 season.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's going to be his team, I think. He's going to have to step up. He's going to have to lead these guys. Hopefully he'll have a little bit better weather this coming weekend against Saranac. But I think he's going to be the X factor. How well he plays is really going to be an indicator of how well Peru goes and how far they go come playoff time.
Absolutely. And speaking of Beekmantown, they still have a matchup with Saranac Lake on the schedule. And if there's good conditions, that could be an upset as well later in the season.
Absolutely. And we were talking about it before the show. If Beekmantown somehow manages to win that game and all those 3 teams win out, we're going to have all those teams right at the top. Peru, Saranac Lake, and Beekmantown are all going to be just having one loss right there at the top of the CVAC.
Something that is going to be really good to watch here in the last few weeks. We're going to get into our next highlight. However, Plattsburgh and Saranac, like we were talking about before, this another game here last Saturday afternoon. Some wet conditions. We apologize for the highlights. We do the best we can here, like we said. We got the opening kickoff from Saranac here in this one. Saranac kicks the ball off, going towards Plattsburgh's guy trying to receive it. They get their hands on it, but it goes out of bounds. Tough break for the early going stage in this one. For Plattsburgh, Saranac with the ball now. Dropping back to pass on this one. Throws a great pass. Look at him wide open. Just about 7 yards away. He gets the ball on this one. Going to make a run down to about the 35-yard line. Looking to set up a field goal for Saranac here in this one. Once again, though, look at the receiver on this one. Making a nice juke move, trying to get around the defender. Big missed tackle, gets him down to the 25-yard line, gets out of bounds in great field position. Now, as you see, the field goal team making its way back out onto the field for Saranac, as they're going to look to kick a field goal here to try to put some points on the board for Saranac against Plattsburgh here in what was a rainy Saturday afternoon. So you can even imagine that kicking had to be one of the tougher things on special teams. As Plattsburgh getting it done on the special teams unit is always a big play in high school football. If you can block a kick, anything can happen. Here, as you can see, the kick getting ready to start off. They hike the ball up. Look at the stop. There's the ball. Looks like almost a line drive, and Plattsburgh gets their way in there. Look at the big guy right in the middle. He steps up into the lane and blocks the kick. A great play for Plattsburgh in this one, as Plattsburgh blocks the kick and stops the field goal from happening as they walk off the field. Final score in this one going to be Saranac 25, Plattsburgh 13. Another win for Saranac to improve to 2-2 on the 2012 season. Plattsburgh dropping to 1-3. Like we were saying before, as they play Peru this Friday, Saranac, one of those teams that are there for an upset if it happens.
You're absolutely right. Sitting there at 2-2, they're not completely out of this. Right now they are 5th in the CVAC, but if they get a win against Peru this weekend, we're going to have a whole mess going into the next couple weeks.
Absolutely nothing wrong with seeing that, though, in high school football. The more teams that win, the more teams that beat each other, it makes it that much more interesting as we head to sectionals in just a few weeks away. Hard to believe we're halfway through the season already, Lee.
I know, it's pretty impressive, not very impressive, but pretty crazy how quick October comes, and soon it'll be November, and sectional time is going to be here before we know it.
Absolutely. But you got to look. Saranac 2-2 against Peru 3-1. Plattsburgh 1-3. Plattsburgh's got a tough one this week. They're playing Saranac Lake.
Absolutely, and the way Saranac Lake is playing, it looks like they're probably going to run away with that one. They've been pretty much running away with every game they've been in so far. They look almost men compared to boys out there. That's how good they are in the CVAC right now. But currently, we're going to take a break. Coming up, we're going to get an interview with our own Derek Palaki, get some soccer highlights. We'll be right back. This is Sports Wrap Live.
Presents Real Men of PSTV.
Real men of PSTV.
We salute you, Mr. Teleprompter Operator.
Mr. Teleprompter Operator.
Not content to just sit there and turn that dial, you make sure everything is properly highlighted, spaced, and all caps.
Mr. Perfectionist.
Without you, nobody knows what to say.
I don't know my name.
So sit back, relax, and watch PSTV.
Mr. Teleprompter Operator.
Campus Channel 10, Charter 17.
What the French toast? Yo, I can't get PSTV. Do you have PSTV?
No, I don't have it either.
No!
Guys, there's no PSTV. Do you guys got PSTV?
PSTV must be out again.
This portion of PSTV is brought to you by an underwriting grant from Heritage Printing, located at 94 Margaret Street and featuring printing and copying. We thank Heritage Printing for their continuing support of PSTV programming.
This portion of PSTV is brought to you by an underwriting grant from Coffee Cat. Located at 104 Margaret Street and featuring coffee and other associated items on the menu, we thank Coffee Cat for their continuing support of PSTV programming.
Today at PSTV, we go out into the community and try to make some friends. Let's take a look. Reporting live from the community, PSTV. Let us hold your hand.
We welcome you back here to Sports Wrap Live here on PSTV, and we got a special guest for you here with the Point Afters, Derek Palaki. Derek, welcome to the show.
Mike Lee, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and we were talking about football a little bit before we went to break, and we just want to get your opinion, Derek. How do you think this season is going to go the rest of the way?
It's all Saranac Lake. That's clear. Let's be honest. Saranac Lake is incredible. But you also have Peru and Beekmantown right there. I know they just played that 21-6 game, which was in a rain. It was rainy. Let's be honest. So we can't really decipher who truly could have won. So, but like you said, the great thing about it is Beekmantown still has a game against Saranac Lake.
Right, and in good conditions, especially. I would have liked to see Blake Altizer and Zach Myers go at it in great conditions in a beautiful quarterback battle. But, you know, Zach Myers gets going. I think they have a shot to beat Saranac Lake here as we head to the end of the season.
Yeah, but that Peru game, you really can't say that was great for him. 3 for 17, what was it, 39 yards?
Yeah,
in bad weather.
But in bad weather, no, that's true.
I think both quarterbacks in that game ended up with under 40 yards passing, even worse. But yeah, like you said, the weather really affects the way the game is played. And as we go on, Saranac Lake and Beekmantown, Peru's got a couple good ones. This weekend they're playing Saranac. That could be a trap game. And it's going to be interesting if we get some better weather, what those quarterbacks are going to do.
No, I mean, that's true. That's absolutely true. Can they get over that rainy game? Peru, they don't care about it. Altizer doesn't really care.
Right. His
stats were bad, but they won the game. They're moving on. They have Saranac this week. I think you called that a trap game. I think you're wrong. I mean, I don't mean to call out the man of Sports Wrap Live, but I think you're a little bit crazy on that one.
Well, another team, like we say, trap game, Beekmantown going into Mariah this week. You look at Mariah's scores, with the exception of Saranac Lake, their defense has not given up a lot of points here in 2012.
Yeah, but they haven't scored a lot of points, Mike. Let's look at the facts here. When you look at Mariah, they've scored they've scored 30-15 in their wins, but their losses are 12-6. So the margin of victory is terrible unless you look at the 30 points they put up against Plattsburgh, and they're not doing too well this year.
That's right. And Beekmantown, they did have a little bit of some defensive plays, but their defense is a little inconsistent in my opinion. You saw them in that last game against Peru, and they had some good plays on the defensive line. The front seven played pretty well, but you're going to need a little more consistency, and we're going to see if Mariah can take advantage of that inconsistency.
Consistency is key. It's going to be interesting. That's all I know.
Absolutely. Ticonderoga going to AuSable Valley this week. 1-3 matchup versus an 0-4 matchup. AuSable Valley may have a shot to pick up their first win this week.
I can't see it. AuSable Valley has scored a total of 45 points this year. You look at a team like, and I know they're not playing each other, but you look at a team like Saranac Lake, who's scored God knows how many.
Well, Saranac Lake is obviously above and beyond the best team in this league, the CVAC, and I don't know, AuSable Valley could come up with a win against Ticonderoga. They're not incredibly strong this year, and it's going to be interesting, Derek.
And it is at home.
I'm not buying it, even though Ticonderoga's only win was 18-12 against Mariah, rivalry game, they're putting up that great defense, as you said with Mariah. But again, Ticonderoga has a win, AuSable Valley doesn't. You got to go with the team with the win.
You say that now. We'll see what happens this weekend.
Oh, no, it's truly going to be great.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good matchup. I'm looking at AuSable Valley's run game, though, to be perfectly honest. I know it was a little late in the game against Saranac Lake, but they did come up with some good running plays. They were balanced offensively. I think you could see that if they keep to their game plan, I think you could see a little bit of an upset.
You know, AuSable Valley did put up 20 against Saranac Lake.
That's right.
That's true. But again, they gave up 58. So think about that, 58 against Saranac Lake when they only put up 20.
That's right. Another thing you got to look at going in the Saranac-Mariah, those are two teams that could end up with winning records here and have a push toward sectionals.
No, that's absolutely true because of Mariah's defense, but not because of their offense. But you look at Saranac, and Saranac has put up good games, a few good games. I mean, the Mariah-Saranac game was 15-8. So once again, we talk about Mariah's defense being great, but their offense not being too hot.
And that's going to be a good game this weekend. Beekmantown and Mariah. That tough defense, as you mentioned, against a pretty good offense that Beekmantown has. Zach Myers, the quarterback, obviously didn't have a great game in the rainy weather against Peru, but that's going to be a good bounce-back game for him. We'll see what happens.
It's going to be an interesting game. We were discussing this off camera, and I had originally said I liked Mariah. But then I looked at it, and Beekmantown scored 22, 28, 29 in wins and 6 in a loss. And I said Mariah has put up 30, 15 in wins, but 12 and 6 in losses. I just don't think Mariah has the offensive power, even though the defense is good.
Okay, well, it's absolutely going to be an interesting week. Right now, we're going to have to take another break. Coming right up, though, it's more Sports Wrap Live, so keep it tuned here on PSTV.
This portion of PSTV is brought to you by an underwriting grant from Heritage Printing, located at 94 Margaret Street and featuring printing and copying. We thank Heritage Printing for their continuing support of PSTV programming.
This portion of PSTV is brought to you by an underwriting grant from Coffee Cat, located at 104 Margaret Street and featuring coffee and other associated items on the menu. We thank Coffee Cat for their continuing support of PSTV programming.
Popcorn? Maybe some candy and nachos? Want to watch a movie while doing so? Regal Cinemas can offer you that and so much more. With stadium seating and 8 theaters, Regal Cinemas is the place to be. Located at 60 Smithfield Boulevard, Suite 90 in Plattsburgh, Regal Cinemas also offers their Regal Crown Club Card, where you can earn free popcorn, soda, candy, and even free tickets.
You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll have a great time.
Welcome back to Sports Wrap Live here on PSTV. Before we get into our picks for this big Week 5 here in the CVAC, we'd like to mention that Ticonderoga picked up a win over Mariah last weekend by a score of 18-12. That is it for the Week 4 scores. Lee, we're going to get into our picks now. Let's start off with Ticonderoga and AuSable Valley.
I know I was arguing a little bit with Derek in the last segment, but I do have to go with Ticonderoga here. I think they're just going to be too much for AuSable Valley. I don't think they get it done this week. They're still going to be winless. Sorry, AuSable.
I disagree. I got to go with AuSable Valley in this one. They fought hard against Saranac Lake the entire time last week, and I just think this is going to be the game they pull it out and pick up the victory. I like AuSable Valley picking up the win and going to 1-4.
Yeah, and I got to say, that's something I really like to see. Even when you're down big, when you can still play hard and you can end up putting up 20 points on a pretty good defense, I like that. I like that play. What about Peru and Saranac? Who you got?
This is one of the two games I said was going to be a trap game before we got onto the show, but I like Peru in this one. I'm going to take Blake Althazar. He came back from a bad stat game last week, but like we said, in the rain, I think this week he overcomes it. You're going to see 3 touchdown passes from him.
Wow, that's a bold prediction. I'm going the other way. I got Saranac. I think they're going to get it done. That's just me. What about Beekmantown and Mariah?
I'm going to go with Mariah with the upset in this one. Their defense has been really good. I think they can stop Beekmantown's offense. We got to see how Beekmantown responds from last week's loss to Peru, though. I have a feeling Beekmantown may come out and be very good, but look out. I think Mariah's got a shot to win, and I think they do pick up the victory on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going the other way. I got the other quarterback in that Peru-Beekmantown game, Zach Myers. I think he's going to come back, have a great game. I think Beekmantown picks up the win to stay in that race.
And the final game, Saranac Lake, the undefeated Saranac Lake Red Storm, go into Plattsburgh 1-3. Lee, I think you're going to be with me on this one. Got to go with Saranac Lake.
Absolutely. Saranac Lake, we said it all the time. Juggernaut, they're the best team in the league. They're going to win.
Well, that's what we have it for our picks. We're going to send you back to break one more time here on Sports Wrap Live. Keep watching on PSTV.
All right, welcome back to Sports Wrap Live. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but I'm Lee Dudek.
I'm Mike Warren. I'd like to have a special thanks to Derek Palaki. Thank you for joining us this evening here on Sports Wrap Live on PSTV.